This is Glenn Hughes, the voice of rock, and you're listening to Music Mania.
You ready for some screaming heavy metal? We rock!
But the evil that men do lives on.
We gonna bang your head!
You are now listening to the Music Mania podcast, brought to you by CD Warehouse in Gladstone, the #1 hard rock podcast in the Midwest, featuring hard-hitting interviews with rock's living legends. And now, here's your host, Clint Switzer.
Welcome to another edition of the Music Mania podcast. I am your host, Clint Switzer. Got to thank our sponsor, CD Warehouse in Gladstone, Missouri. Guys, for over 22 years, a staple of the Northland. We thank them very much for being involved. And you know what? That's where I worked. That was like one of my indoctrinations into hard rock and heavy metal music was I think I was like 19, 20. I worked there and I learned a lot about all the albums, listened to everything, and man, I tell you what, it was a great time. CD Warehouse in Gladstone, 22 years in the Northland. If you're here in Kansas City, check them out. A huge show here today. We're going to be talking with none other than Tim Ripper Owens. Of course, you know him from Judas Priest, Ice Earth, Yngwie Malmsteen, and he is currently going to be on tour with the Dio Returns Tour. He and Oni Logan will be the guest singers as the Dio hologram gets set to go on this run in America. Guys, Dio died, of course, in 2010 at the age of 67 from stomach cancer. His hologram was created by a company called Eye Illusion, and it made its debut at Wacken Open Air back in 2016 in front of more than 75,000 fans. The Dio Returns World Tour production uses audio of Ronnie's live performances throughout his career with the Dio Disciples Band playing live, and that's going to consist of guys like Craig Goldie on guitar, Simon Wright on drums, Scott Warren on keyboards, and Bjorn England on bass, and of course Tim Ripper Owens and Oni Logan will be joining that tour, guys. A lot of controversy about it. We're going to be talking to Tim Ripper Owens about it. Is the controversy, unfounded? Is it fair to call this a cash grab when, in fact, Wendy Dio, the widow of the late, great Ronnie James Dio, kind of put this together? She could be sitting home collecting a paycheck off Ronnie's music, but you know what? She puts this production together. It is expensive to do, and this is certainly anything but a cash grab. A lot of people saying, you know what? Let the memory of Ronnie die. But to me, this is about keeping it alive. And we're going to be talking to him about that and the concept behind it and kind of how the show will work. It's going to be on quite a run here in America. It starts May 31st and it's going to run, all the way into July. And in June, I'm going to be seeing this show in Kansas City at the Uptown Theater. Cannot wait to check it out because, I saw Ronnie performing with Heaven and Hell about a year before he passed away. It was in the summer of 2008. So it was about 2 years before he died, actually, and I was just enamored. Dio's always been, one of my top 2 or 3 metal singers of all time, and just to be there and watching him perform those songs with, the Black Sabbath songs with Heaven and Hell is truly something I'll never forget. And I saw that show actually in Mohegan Sun Arena in Uncasville, Connecticut. So it was like a road trip. My friends and I went on and checked this tour out. They were on tour with Judas Priest, which is kind of funny because, of course, Tim Ripper Owens was in Judas Priest for 6 years. He was a part of 2 albums, Jugulator and Demolition, and 2 live albums. And we're going to talk to him about his time there, what his legacy is, with Judas Priest, replacing the legendary Rob Halford. Tim Owens, guys, has just been out there. He got his start, by joining Judas Priest back in 1996. When they saw his video, like a videotape of him, this is pre-YouTube, and Priest saw his videotape singing, and of course it was the inspiration for the movie Rockstar, starring Mark Wahlberg. So there's so much here, and we've been wanting to have Tim on the show for a long time. Of course, there's sort of a dueling Dio tribute out there called The Last in Line. We've just had Andrew Freeman on our show. We had Vivian Campbell on our show, and there was some, maybe some bad blood between the two bands, and it kind of got accentuated on this podcast when we had Andrew Freeman on, and he said some of the guys in that band are dicks. And so Ripper Owens kind of caught wind of that and basically kind of jokingly said in an interview, yeah, I guess I'm a dick. So we're going to ask him about that, like, how we became this unwilling intermediary, if you will, between, this sort of thing that took on a life of its own. And honestly, I'm a fan of both bands. I love what The Last in Line are doing. They have 2 original albums out, and Dio Disciples and what they've been doing, paying tribute to Ronnie, and I think that it's wonderful, and I think that I support both projects, and I definitely support the Dio Returns Tour. I cannot wait to see it. And, we had Jeff Pilson on this show in the past, and he talked about, that Ronnie would have loved this, that Ronnie would have been all about the technology behind it. He was all about pleasing his fans, the furthering of technology, and the fact that this would even be possible. I think it's something that Ronnie would enjoy. So gonna get out there, throw our devil horns up for Ronnie, and check out this tour. It's going to be in Kansas City, June 19th at the Uptown Theater. Get your tickets now. So much coming up. I got Rocklahoma on the horizon. Memorial Day weekend, I'll be heading down there for a weekend of fun and rocking, and the summer to rock for me has just begun. I'm going to be checking out Sammy Hagar and Vince Neil. That's this weekend in St. Louis. Then I'll be on to Rocklahoma after that. So the fun is just beginning. That's what it's all about here on the Music Mania podcast. We always appreciate you hitting that subscribe button on iTunes, on Google Play, on Spotify, any way you choose to listen to the show. We always appreciate that. So please subscribe, share it, let us know what you think. If you have a question, comment, or concern, send us an email, maniapodcast@gmail.com or musicmania_show on Twitter. You can send us a tweet, let us know how we're doing. Let us know if you want to hear an interview with someone, you got a band that you want to promote, let us know. We're always open to it. And guys, before we get to our interview with Ripper Owens, got to tell you about our sponsor, CD Warehouse in Gladstone, Missouri. Guys, for over 22 years, a staple of the Northland. They buy, sell, and trade CDs, DVDs, vinyl, and more. Do not let the vibe of the old school record store go by the wayside. Give them a visit today. Tell them Music Mania sent you, and there will be a discount, or it's on us. I cannot thank you enough for joining us. This one is years in the making. Ripper Owens, it's finally happening. Welcome to the Music Mania podcast. How you doing today, my friend?
I'm good, man. Very good.
Well, it is a pleasure. I tell you what, we are just a couple of weeks away from Dio Returns. It is on, man. May 31st, this thing is starting. Obviously, you've unveiled this thing a little bit in some festivals in the past, and but it's getting ready to go out in front of a U.S. audience on a full-scale tour. This has got to be a really exciting time for you guys.
Well, it is exciting. The thing is, it's new territory. Even though we did it once, it's still new territory, and it's just exciting to do, really. It's because, every time we take one step further with this, it's always a great feeling to sing, Ronnie, so it's always great.
Yeah, looking very much forward to this. Obviously, you and Oni Logan as well, who's obviously been a part of Dio Disciples and things that you guys have done. I'm imagining the format would be, you get 6-7 songs with Dio in the hologram, and then you guys kind of trading off on some songs, maybe doing some songs together. How's that going to work?
It is. Oni and I really do the same thing that we would do in Dio Disciples. So, it just makes it more of a show. That's the thing about this is it's not just like the hologram, and it's not just us. It's just it becomes a big show. So we really make it run like one. And I'll sing some myself, and Oni will sing some himself, and and then we'll sing some together. And like you said, the hologram will be doing all of those. So it's pretty neat and pretty great, really.
Well, talk about what this means for you guys. Obviously, you and Simon Wright and Bjorn and Scott Warren. You guys have been out doing this and really, keeping this music alive. And to me, that's as simple as what this is keeping this music alive. And I think in today's climate, when even since Ronnie passed, we've lost so many others, Lemmy and so many more. It's just like, that's what I think now more than ever, it's so important that this continues and that this legacy be celebrated. Don't you think?
Well, absolutely, and we all know that, Ronnie's legacy is always going to be alive, so it's not like we're doing anything. We're friends with Ronnie. People always say, well, I don't know if Ronnie would, well, we know what Ronnie would want, and he wants to make his fans happy. That's all we're trying to do. That's all Wendy and Illusion and all these people are trying to do, and that's just make fans happy with some kind of a great show. Families and people who haven't seen him. So I think that's the big thing right there.
It is. I think it's extremely important, and I'm just excited about what you guys are doing. Obviously, and what's unfortunate here is, there's always going to be a segment of people that are going to question these moves, why to do it, calling it a cash grab. It's clearly not that. This is a very costly endeavor for the Dio camp, for Wendy and whoever's putting into this. This technology is not easy to put together. This is going to be, this is clearly a positive thing. And I mean, I just wish it was more celebrated that way. In fact, we had Jeff Pilson on this show recently, and he talked about what a fan of technology Ronnie was, and he would have loved to have just seen this, in person, to have seen the technology and how it evolved. So, all positives, I think.
Listen, I don't think people realize how much Ronnie tried to please his fans with anything. Ronnie would take a Dragon out on tour, that Dragon, and come back and lose money at the end of the tour just trying to make fans happy. And that's the issue here, and that's the reason why it's done. I mean, everybody always wants to make money, but, the main thing is just, for Wendy, is just always trying to make the fans happy. It's a shame that they don't realize that. The cash grab thing could quite possibly be the funniest thing I've ever heard, because if Wendy wants to do a cash grab, she would just sit back and do nothing, because she owns his music. I mean, she makes more money by doing nothing than she does spending money to try to make fans happy. And that's the great thing about it, And I've always said, listen, don't spend it, Wendy. Sit home and do nothing. Don't let them make a book, and don't let them make a movie, and don't let them make the video game, and don't let them do anything, because, but unfortunately, this is a small majority of fans, and they're not real fans if that's because they're just people who have that mentality. It's just people who hate everything and look at everything in a negative light. And the best part is Ronnie and Wendy never looked at anything in a negative light like that. So it's kind of exciting, and I'm all right with. Listen, I get people not liking it. That is fine. We all do that. I mean, there's plenty of bands I don't like, but I would still go watch them to try to give them a chance. I understand people not liking it. What I don't like is the hatred that they have. I mean, people nowadays are just full of hate, and it's unbelievable what they say. I'm like, obviously they can't be married or have girlfriends or families, because that's how much hate they see spread around. I'm like, you know what I mean? It's like, just sit back and think about it. You don't like it, okay, that's fine. That's it. That's the reason you don't like it. But
yeah, it's a strange time that we live in, and 20 years ago, people didn't have a voice for things like this, and the voice mostly in social media is going to be negativity. Those that are cool with it and ready to roll. Like I'll see you guys here June 19th at the Uptown Theater, man, in Kansas City. That's where we are. That's where I'm going to be checking this out. I'm just such a fan. Like I saw Ronnie with Sabbath, with Heaven and Hell about a year before he died, and to be able to revisit this. I'm a huge fan of Oni, of your guys' voices. I'm a huge fan of Craig Goldie, one of my favorite guitarists that ever played with Dio. I think this is awesome. Simon Wright's amazing. So this is going to be great, and I'm so excited you guys are doing this, and just all good things from this end. But so I don't know if you're aware of this or not, Tim, but we are the intermediary that the Music Mania podcast here is the intermediary that you said in an interview that you acquiesced sort of jokingly that you were a dick. That all started from this podcast, Tim. So you're a dick, apparently, according to Andrew Freeman, who we had on this show. And
yeah, that's right.
So this was us, man.
Right,
so
yeah, listen, that's the most fantastic thing ever. And and Andrew and I are friends, and we even talked after that. We kind of laughed, and I said, because I said that, I said it jokingly, right? I was like, yeah, well, I'm a dick. I come from a dick, whatever. But the best part was the headline on Blabbermouth was so fantastic that I want to frame it, because all it said was Ripper Owens says he's a dick, and that was it. That was the headline, or nothing. It was so fantastic. I love it. But listen. Here's my thing. I'll say it right now because you started it.
Yeah.
There's enough room for everybody, and I get it that people talk bad and they bicker back and forth, and I don't like this and I don't like that. Hey, listen. Last in Line is fantastic. They've made these. They got original CDs out. They sound fantastic. They were Ronnie's. Some of the members were Ronnie's first band. Dio Disciples was fantastic. I would imagine everybody started this for the right reason. We're certainly doing it for the right reason, because I certainly don't do Dio Disciples to line my pockets with money, because it's not doing that. We do it because we love to celebrate Ronnie, and that's what everybody does. Same with so many people. They love to celebrate Ronnie. So, that's why we do this, and there's enough room for all of it. Dick and all, there's enough room for all of it.
Well, nobody is. It's funny because I'm a fan of both bands. I mean, we've had members from both projects on here, and I was just sort of curious about the perceived rivalry and things like that. And it's like I didn't really know, and no names were even named. He never said that you were a dick on the show. It was just he said some of those guys are dicks. So it could be.
Well, I got to be honest. I was pretty 100% sure that he wasn't talking to me because we're friends. So that was even the funniest part about it, because I know he's not talking about me.
Right.
And I'm not a dick about the whole situation. And I get it. People bicker back and forth and they say things. Music business is like a family sometimes, and you say things, and that's just what it is. And sometimes it's best. I put my foot in my mouth every interview, and I did already in this interview probably. So that's just the way it is. But I'm not going to attack them. And I know I've probably even said something about them in the past. And that was only because they were saying something about us. So you kind of get back. And then finally I just said, listen, I don't care. That's great. I would go watch them. They're celebrating Ronnie. I'm going to go watch them if they come into town, period.
Well, I think that's what's exceptional about you. And I mean, you come from such humble beginnings and things like that. It's so funny because I was talking to someone the other day and I was like, you know what, literally, like, if you want a singer, if you're replacing a singer, you just go find someone on YouTube. I was like, when Ripper Owens goes to Judas Priest, there's no YouTube. I mean, I'm just always kind of think it's funny because somehow a videotape had to have changed hands. I'm on an old VHS, grainy. I'm just picturing how this all went down, but hard to believe that 20 plus years ago, pre-YouTube, and that's how it worked for you. But hell, thank God it did, man. That's such a great legacy that you still have.
I know, pretty lucky. Yeah, absolutely.
2 albums, 2 live albums, 6 years with the mighty Judas Priest. Do you look back on that with reverence? Obviously, it's a thing that you've catapulted to so many projects today, from Yngwie Malmsteen and Iced Earth and all the things that you've done. Do you look back at that with a lot of reverence?
Well, it was just a fantastic time of my life. That's what opened the doors up for me to do what I do. I made Priest. It was like my college, I've always said, and it was so much fun. They treated me so great. We were such friends. I think that's what I missed out of everything. Because listen, I tour all over. I played more places in the world now than I ever have. So under my own name. So it's not like I missed that kind of stuff. I missed just the whole experience of being with the guys and hanging out. It was great. And like I said, it opened the doors up, and I stay extremely, extremely busy. But that's because that's what I do for a living now. And that's how I pay the bills. And Judas Priest did that, I have all these things and projects and bands that I do, and that's how it is. And it's really thanks to Judas Priest.
Yeah, I'm one of those people. I'm not critical. I'm not someone that feels that I have any place to tell a band that they need to stop for any reason whatsoever. I just wanted your take because I know that, you've kind of talked about KK Downing and kind of defending what he's kind of said about some of the old bandmates, but without Glenn and KK, no matter what, that guitar tandem is one of the most famous in metal history, and those guys have stepped away from the band. Is that how do you feel about that aspect without those two? Because that double guitar tandem is so legendary. I don't know, that it's a difficult thing because I love Rob and I love Ian and I love what they do. Scott Travis is amazing. What's your take on the situation without the 2 guitarists left?
No, I think it sucks, but that's just what happens, and I don't want to see that. Listen, obviously with unfortunately with Glenn and the Parkinson's, it's just sad experience because he's such an amazing man, and he still is, and it's great. He still will go until he can't, and it's unfortunate with the thing with Ken. But music's a family thing, and families split up sometimes, and that's just what happens. I love all the guys, but I listen. I love Richie, and they do what they do. I mean, here's the thing: I don't want to see Rob or Ian or Scott not be able to go out and do this as Judas Priest. I mean, they're getting the blessings of everybody. It's not like they've done something like, oh, what are you doing? They got the blessings from everybody. So, I want to see them continue to do it. There's no doubt about it. So, it's unfortunate, but they still have the management behind it, and Glenn's still behind it, and I'm certain Ken's behind them going out and doing it as well. I mean, it is what it is.
Well, it's funny because I feel like that your era is is maybe more appreciated and celebrated now more than ever. And I think that's one good thing about social media and message boards. You read a lot of good things, and that's one thing that I think is awesome is that I see a lot of feedback, a lot of people interacting with you on Twitter. But you said that you're open to possibly re-recording Jugulator and Demolition. Is that something that you want to do? Is that something that's going to happen?
Well, I had mentioned it, and I think I probably was even asked that question in a way. Usually I'm asked something weird before I even, I don't come up with these ideas. But I don't have time to do that. I mean, I got to put a solo record out, and maybe a Beyond Fear record or Chartwell's of Them. Who knows? I got so many things coming out. But I would love to do it. I play a lot of that stuff live. So, I mean, it could be a live record. Maybe someday I will do it. But, I mean, that's not on the top of the list. But I just basically probably said it thinking, I'd love to see it out there. I mean, that's just, there's a lot of other things I'd have to do ahead of that.
Well, you talked about Charred Walls of the Damned. Let's talk about what all you have coming up, what's on the horizon, because this Dio Returns Tour is gonna go, I believe, through July, and it's a lot of dates, and this is gonna be really cool. I'm guessing to see, kind of test it, and I guess there'll certainly be other markets involved, but Charred Walls of the Damned, what else do you have coming up? What can we be looking for from you coming up here in the next year or two?
Well, I mean, I'll still be looking to tour. I mean, I've been putting them on hold, the Three Tremors touring with the record that came out. We could be touring all the time, but I've had to put it on hold. But I just put 3 CDs out with a New Revenge, Spirits of Fire, and the Three Tremors. So it's really, I've been pretty busy, and I could be doing some solo touring, I could be doing anything. But right now, I'm just trying to think about the Dio thing and get that done.
Yeah, absolutely. Can't wait for that. And I know it's funny because I was thinking the other day just about kind of how Iron Maiden and Judas Priest kind of mirror each other in certain ways. And I just realized, I thought a couple years ago, I was pretty sure you did a brief tour, maybe overseas with Blaze Bayley and maybe Jeff Tate, like a Trinity tour. And I always feel like you and Blaze Bayley are kind of remind me a lot of each other. He's been on the show, great guy. Like, he's sort of unheralded as his era in Iron Maiden, but some great songs in there. Same with you. Like, how was that touring with him? And I think Jeff Tate was in that as well.
It was good. I mean, we had a blast. I just saw Blaze the other day. He played in Akron, and we had a lot of times. We had fun times. We laughed a lot, and Blaze would be singing, and Jeff and I'd be in the dressing room, singing harmonies, or at the side of the stage singing harmonies and having fun, and it was a good time. We really enjoyed it.
Well, great stuff. I'll tell you what, we're looking forward to seeing you here June 19th at the Uptown Theater, Dio Returns Tour. Ripper, we can't thank you enough, man. I'm glad we finally able to make it happen. It's been on our list for a long time. We're just so glad you're able to do it, and we'll see you on the 19th, my friend. Thanks so much. Big thanks to Ripper Owens for joining us. That was great. Great to get all that out in the air and talking about the Andrew Freeman thing and the Last in Line thing and getting it out there about this tour and letting us know that this is about Ronnie and furthering his legacy, and there's no harm in that. And who are we to say, what people do and don't want? People are going to go out or they're not. You heard Ripper say it. Huge thanks to him. That was a great interview. And, I'm just personally so thankful to him for coming on, because we've been wanting to make it happen for a few years now. And we exchanged tweets back and forth and finally got the management involved, got it scheduled. Thanks to Adrenaline PR for helping make that happen. Can't wait to see the show coming up. Guys, it's going to be a busy summer for us here on the Music Media Podcast. So much coming up. We've got interviews. We're going to be talking with Collective Soul and talking about their new album coming up. Johnny Rab's going to be joining us. So much on the horizon. So many shows. Guys, it is summertime. I don't care what the date says. You know what? It's May. That means in Missouri that it's already 85 degrees. That means it's time to get out, enjoy some live music, enjoy your friends, enjoy a cold beverage, and head to the lake. Do all the things that we love to do. Summertime brings out the best in me, and it brings out the best in all of us. We are on the road to rock for the rest of the summer. Guys, we cannot thank you enough for being a part of this. So much more coming up. Like I said, please visit us at musicmaniapodcast.com. That's where all the shows are archived. And of course, subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and Spotify. And you can get all of our shows. We're over 120 now. This has just been unbelievable. incredible for the past few years. Really 3 years that it's been ramped up to this level, and it just keeps getting bigger, and we thank you guys so much for that. And please continue to give us the feedback and interact with us on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. We always appreciate it, guys. So much more coming up. The Music Mania podcast on the road to Rock Summer has just begun. We'll see you next week.